So thank you very much for joining us, Lord Mayor. It's wonderful to have you on the show. You've become the first African-born councillor to be elected as a Mayor of Leeds. And I just wanted to ask, I guess, how that made you feel to start with, what that means, I suppose, to the African community, and yeah, if it's something that you ever dreamed of, I suppose, when you were a child.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here today. Yes, it's definitely a privileged position to be in. I have worked very hard all my years, making sure that the education that I have, been able to acquire over the years, I've put that into practice.
Of course.
My father taught me that you educate to serve. And for me, it's all about service. It's all about giving back. And it's all about making sure that we genuinely care and make our communities a lot better than we met it.
Excellent. I think you talk a lot about the serving. If you follow the Lord Mayor on the social media, you'll see that she's constantly getting engaged with either small businesses, individuals, doing wonderful things in the community. But yeah, she truly means that when she says she's living to serve within the community. No, thank you for that. What I wanted to do, obviously you made your trip here from Nigeria, and I'm sure there was a few challenges that you've had to face. But I wanted to talk more so about your journey to leadership and maybe how you'd have leaned in on some of the challenges you'd have faced earlier on in your career and life to not only, I suppose, set your focus, but just to keep going regardless of the knockback on your journey to leadership. Yeah,
thanks. That has been the slogan since I got elected as Lord Mayor. It's been international student Lord Mayor, but it's been 24 years in between.
That's correct.
So you have to remember that's 2 decades and 4 of grinding, 24 years of serving, 24 years of volunteering, which I always say to young people especially, it's very, very important. 24 years of getting into jobs where you were accepted for some and you were rejected for some.
Very true.
24 years where I've had successes and I've had failures. What's most important for me, I'm not a woman who's afraid to fail. What I always make sure is that I never fail to learn the lessons. So coming over from Nigeria, coming to Britain, it's a completely different ball game for what it was for me. The weather,
of course,
the people,
of course,
the language, the culture. So there were lots of things to learn, and I always say one of the greatest gifts was for me was adapting and adapting well. So when you're in Rome, they say you behave like a Roman, and it didn't take me long to learn the laws, guiding the country, learn how the people live, learn how they speak, learn how to always keep warm, because it was extremely cold when I came,
of course.
Coming from a very hot climate of 35 degrees to coming to 6-7 degrees when I arrived was a very huge weather culture change for me. So I would say over the years, I have actually learned a lot just by knowing that nothing good comes easy. Nothing has ever been given to me on a platter of gold. You've got to earn and work hard to earn wherever it is that you are in, and you have to be intentional about your decisions on how you want to live your life, what kind of jobs you would like to do. The leadership positions you find yourself is something that I was actually very intentional about, and I do everything I can, especially when it comes to training and educating myself for the positions that I found myself in.
Okay, no, that's a brilliant answer. So it's almost like a focused, laser-sharp focus, I suppose, for what you want to achieve.
Absolutely.
And not taking no for an answer, or not taking, I guess, what seems like defeat for an answer. No, thank you very much for that. I wanted to ask one question, I guess, around that. You talked about, obviously, been here 24 years, over 2 decades of you putting your hard work and dedication into the city, into the country in general. I suppose this is more so your second home almost. Obviously, you have your family, your children in the UK. So when we talk about international, is it more fair, I suppose, to see this, or to see you as a citizen of Leeds and to see you as almost like a child, I suppose, of the city because of how much you've given to the city?
Absolutely. I mean, as Lord Mayor, I'm the first citizen of the city. So when I came, and by the time I graduated in 2000, Leeds just automatically became my second home, and it's been my home for the last 25 years. So it's more home to me than anywhere else. So I've got dual citizenship. I'm from Nigeria, which I left to come here. And Leeds has been so welcoming, has embraced me, embraced my family, and has just been where I have lived. And for me, for all the goodness and even the hardships that I have faced, Leeds has always been a blessing in my life, and that's why I chose to serve in Leeds and nowhere else.
No, that's a wonderful answer. I think it's your story itself, to be honest, is a great testament to your spirit. I think your hard work, your dedication. But I think for anyone watching, it should serve as I guess as a vision for what could be. I guess if you have that hard work and commitment to your goals. No, thank you very much for that, Lord Mayor. I wanted to talk about, I suppose, your vision for Leeds. You talked about the work that you put into Leeds online, and I guess on socials we see you, whether it be with the food banks, with new businesses, and with just anyone in general, I suppose, that comes, you open doors. I wanted to ask your vision for Leeds itself. What is it that you hope to achieve in your during your tenure as Lord Mayor?
Yeah, so when I set off as Lord Mayor in May of 2023, I chose a theme, and my theme was addressing inequalities. And that was simply born out of what I saw in the pandemic. And I must say that the pandemic amplified the disparity and inequalities that we can see in our city and the country today. And that really, really touched me, especially when it came to food poverty, to know that we have people living beside me and you who cannot feed their families. That was very, very touching. And that was what drove me to implementing and starting a food hub in Little London. I was also chair of the Adult Health and the Scrutiny Board for Adult Health and Active Lifestyle during the pandemic. And I saw the huge disparity and inequalities that we had in terms of health in the city. So, which is one of the reasons why I'm also addressing health inequalities in my mayoral term. Digital exclusion was also very, very huge because everything went online during the pandemic. I do know of children for 2 years were not schooled because they had no gadgets. That's correct. So we had lots of families, especially our elderly ones, who had no access to digital equipment or anything to get them online. So that meant lots of things in their lives came to a standstill. And those are the kind of inequalities that really, really touched me. And I thought, in my mayoral year, I've been given that platform and the privilege to serve. I can reach out to lots of philanthropists and people around the city and the world who could help us bridge that gap. And that was why I chose Leeds Community Foundation as my chosen charity, because they are there funding smaller charities in the city who are trying to make Leeds a fairer place to live in.
Wonderful. Now, obviously, serving the community has been something that you've done for a long time. I will ask you, I guess, a question about what you've done prior, just to let the people know. But I wanted to move on, I guess, to a more important point, which would help us help you serve the community. How can we, I suppose, in the African and Caribbean community, and to be honest, in general, as a whole society, help you achieve some of these initiatives, whether it be the food, I guess, commitment that you've made, or the digital gap that you're trying to bridge? How can we, as viewers, as members of the community, help you achieve that?
Well, we're always looking for volunteers to come and help us. There are so many organizations across the city who are fighting health inequalities. We have lots of organizations and charities in the city fighting food poverty. We also, in Little London, we have the Little London Food Hub Pantry, and it's led by the Leeds African Community Trust. So they have volunteers there every Thursday and Friday. They also have a cafe there. We're also about starting a digital inclusion project in the new year. So we're always asking for volunteers to come and help us. Going forward, I would say anybody who is digitally connected and has got some training skills on how to deliver that, we would be looking for you. And I'm always saying to people, for those who cannot physically come and join us and you've got any financial contribution to make to the Leeds Community Foundation or the Lord Mayor's Fund, we're always asking for that, because obviously the Leeds Community Foundation, which is my chosen charity, are reaching out to smaller charities that are helping in addressing all of these inequalities.
Okay, no, that's wonderful. What I will do is I'll put some links in the description, just so that anyone that has any interest in signing up for some of these initiatives has the ability to do so. I think what I wanted to do is just to, I guess, show a little bit of your background. Do you mind telling, I suppose, the people some of the things that you did prior to being the Lord Mayor of Leeds? Obviously, you talked about your work in inclusion, some of the work as BAME champion. Do you mind, I guess, just giving us a little bit of a backdrop with that?
Yeah, I was the lead member for Blacks, Asians and ethnic minority for the city, making sure that we were addressing all the inequalities as well when it came to race and it came to religion. I was also lead member for faith and religion as well. I was the scrutiny chair for adult health and active lifestyle, holding executive members and officers to account when it came to our health policies in the city. I was also the scrutiny chair for infrastructure investment and inclusive growth for the city. I was the chair for the strategic board for hate crime in the city. Our hate crime incidences in the city, the highest reported incidences was on race and religion. So those were things that I really was passionate about, seeing the outcomes and making sure that there was no place for hate in Leeds. And we do still have a slogan, which is challenge it, report it, and stop it. So those are the things the kind of roles that I was in. I was also the food champion, fighting food justice in the city. So all of these different roles was able to give me a completely different perspective to local government, as well as the necessity of why I chose to serve, because it's all about the people, it's all about the community, and for us making sure that Leeds continues to thrive. Leeds is a place where people would want to grow and live and live and grow old in, a place where we want children to enjoy growing up in Leeds, a child-friendly city. And most importantly, there's so much diversity in Leeds. As you can see, it's a very multicultural city with about 179 nations represented here. So inclusion and diversity is very high on my agenda. And on the 15th of November, I will be hosting the Leeds International Day of Cultural Celebration, where different nations from the city are coming together over 4 hours to just display their culture, food and music. Okay,
again, I'll put links in the description, but all these things that the mayor is doing, wonderful initiatives to really get behind the community, get the work done. I wanted to, I guess, touch on a couple of points. You talked about the digital gap being reduced. You talked about, I guess, some of the children not really getting optimum schooling for up to 2 years during the COVID period. And of course, I think you've talked about some of the other initiatives that you've been involved in. I just wanted to talk about some of the work that you've been doing with the youth and the importance, I suppose, for the youth for the future. How can the youth get involved in some of this work that you're doing, and also how can we support the youth in the way that you want to, I guess, to see that come to light going forward?
I mean, I've been working with young children for a long time now. Outside of being the Lord Mayor and being an elected member, I'm actually an athlete.
Of course.
I'm an England athletics coach, where I coach under 15 children in athletics. So young children are very close to my heart because I've got young children myself. The council does a lot of work for young people in diverse communities, and I always encourage young people, especially when it comes to volunteering, to continue to serve. Sports for me is one of the aspects where I actually get engaged with young people, because I believe that keeps them very focused. That also determination. And lots of times during coaching, that's where we sit down on the floor, talk about academics and why it is important for them to focus on their academics, as well as building themselves mentally and physically on the tracks.
Of course.
But that training keeps all of them grounded. And then, of course, making sure we signpost our young children to all the diverse activities that we have for young people in the city. But the council is doing great work when it comes to trying to engage with young people in the city. Yes, we can do more, but obviously with the funding that we have available, which is not as much as we would love it to be, but we're doing all we can to make sure that we have our young people engaged in tangible stuff.
No, that's wonderful to hear. I mean, obviously, you can hear there's a lot of history with the Lord Mayor, athletics, doing work in the inclusivity, all of it. I don't want to obviously take too much up of your time. I wanted to ask one final question, to be honest, around looking ahead. What legacy do you hope that you leave behind once your time is done in the office? I'm sure you have other plans for the future, but mainly for leaving the office, what do you hope the legacy is? Yeah,
so my theme, like I did say to you, is addressing the inequalities. My legacy will be from all the different organizations that I have been able to affect whilst being Lord Mayor, making sure we raise enough funds that organizations can continue with the work that they are doing in addressing inequalities, and making sure that inclusion and diversity is always top priority for any organization across the city, whether I'm still the Lord Mayor or not, that we continue to make sure we deliver a fairer Leeds for the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lord Mayor, for joining me. It's been a wonderful pleasure. I will put all the links in the description for all the initiatives that the Lord Mayor has mentioned. And of course, I'll put all the links for her socials as well. It's been a great pleasure to have you join in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.